But I was like ferocious learning sponge kind of, just every single thing. So I would stay on till 4 or 5 in the morning. I would even record people from the street and bring them up and say, "Hey, do you want to
Right.
make something?" I would record, people reading poetry and put weird music to it. I would buy an instrument from Thailand. I mean, I just recorded so much stuff to try and understand
Sure.
sound.
Well, you
Uh,
were in control of your own art, which I
well,
think is the reason that, that authenticity and that honesty is the reason that it really connected with everybody. I love the story of how the song Sweet Dreams was created. Can you tell
mm.
that?
Yeah, well, it was a day when, a lot of the time when I'm working all this stuff out, for Annie, she would be maybe writing in her journal or lying on her back waiting. And, you know, sometimes she was quite down. I mean, Annie and I had broken up. She was going, through all sorts of, well, anxiety mixed with depression or whatever. But she would always come to the studio. And um, so she was lying down, and I'd got this drum machine. Adam and I had went and slept on a floor of a guy who was still building the prototype. And it was like, you'll see it in the video, Sweet Dreams. It's like got a wooden sort of casing, and it looks like okay, it doesn't look like a drum machine at all. Anyway, I was experimenting with it and making all these sounds. Then I tuned this tom tom. It was one of the first ones where you could like tune the thing down. So if you didn't like the sound, boom, you could go doo dum. So I got this really loud low tom, and I was thinking about where to put it, but the thing just started, and it was nearly full volume, like the floor shook, and it went dum like that, and I'd already put a bass drum on four on the floor, like dum 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 dum, and Annie sort of leapt up, like got a shock, and I was sort of trying to sort of like control this beast, and I had a little Roland SH-101. I went, "Ding, oh, oh, and it was just this epic sound. And Annie was like, "Oh my God." And so there was not ours, but the guy who owned the picture framing factory had a Kurzweil that he practiced on, and we sort of would sneakily switch it on, and it came up with a sound. We didn't have to do anything. So that sound and the other sound, with me and Annie playing, and Annie playing do 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 do, and this that was it. And all of a
Wow.
sudden, we knew something was happening.
So it was
Now,
an actually a pre-programmed sound inside the Kurzweil itself?
yeah, it just came on like that. It's like magic. Well, the drum machine just came on like that. It just went boom. And so, well, the trick here is, well, to recognize, not to change it. That's okay. It's
Right.
like a beautiful mistake or
Right.
whatever you want to
Right.
call it. And then it kept going round and round doing this thing. So we were like, "Oh, what is it?" And then Annie just went, "Sweet dreams are made of this," and I was like, "Bloody hell!"
So originally, was that a poem that Annie had written?
Yeah, what happened was we'd finished the record, and we had on it, big, songs like "Would I Lie to You" and stuff like that. But she came in, she said, and we were in the tiny little offshoot room to a mixing room, where people go. They call it the lounge, but it's usually the size of a postage stamp.
Right.
And I was in there, and Annie came in and said, "Oh, I've just written this poem." And she showed me it, and it was sisters are doing it for themselves. Now there was a time when they used to say, and I said, I was reading it, I said, "Oh, this is great." But it doesn't need to be a poem, it sounds like a song. And I started playing this. And then I said, if you sing it in between that, so now there was a time, almost like storytelling, not being on the one, but singing behind it. It starts to sound like a sort of R&B, soul,
Sure.
gospel-y kind of song.
Sure.
And so we started to just mess around with that. And then Annie was going, oh, yeah. Like, she got into it. And before we knew it, we had all the about doing it for themselves. And then it was right, it is a song. And then it was like, quick, get Benmont back and Mike Campbell, on
So the
trumpet.
Heartbreakers are the band on that?
Yeah, so I said Mike should play that wah wah type solo thing. And very quickly, we had this amazing track. And Don Smith, who was a great engineer for the Heartbreakers. And then people were saying, oh, well, Saint Sisters should be a duet, really. And then it was going through, oh, I could sing like this. And of course, this was obviously scary for Annie. You're throwing out names like, oh, maybe it should be Tina Turner, Aretha Franklin. Now, these are people that we listened to, when we were
Sure.
younger. And Annie ended up in Aberdeen listening to
Motown. Yeah.
soul and Motown.
Yeah.
But we ended up flying to Detroit and doing it with Aretha. And Aretha had no idea who we were. It was like,
How did the song eventually make it to Aretha, and who convinced her to do it?
um, we can't. Annie and I have been talking about that. We can't quite remember if it was Clive Davis. Now, you see, we weren't with Clive at all at that time, so I don't
Not
know
yet.
how
You would be later, but not
we
yet.
would be later, but she was, and so maybe somebody had talked to him. But anyway, all I know is we went all the way to Detroit to record Aretha, got off the plane, got the studio, and Don remembered he'd left the multitrack on the plane. So fortunately, Aretha was fashionably late because she'd been cooking chicken wings all night and day to bring us as a gift.
That's awesome.
But Annie was a vegan at the time, so I didn't like to say. But anyway, one of the most amazing musical moments of my life, actually,
Wow.
was me and Aretha just on our own, crushed in a tiny room, and there was an upright piano.
Right.
And I don't know why she did it, but for some reason, she sang and played The Way We Were on the
The
piano.
Gladys Knight. The Gladys Knight
Yeah,
arrangement.
just
Right.
me and her, and I'm sort of standing, leaning on the piano, and she's saying, "I remember," and and tearful and singing it.
And she
And
was crying.
she was crying and singing and playing that, and there's only me and her in a room the size of a cupboard. This is before we even started. This was on arrival. So I was like,
Wow. Gee
oh my,
whiz.
oh my God. Like, so I didn't tell Annie how blown away I was, because Annie was already really nervous, like having to sing with Aretha Franklin around the same mic and the whole thing. But when it all kicked off and Aretha heard the song, and when Annie opened her mouth, Aretha was very respectful and realized, oh, this is like the real thing. But you see, I was this experimental sort of, almost like a guy from Alice in Wonderland or whatever, arrived, and I'd already made the chorus and sang on top of it, don't come around here no more, with a sitar and everything in my hotel room in San Francisco on a 4-track little portable thing. And that is the basis of that record, is still the 4-track rather than trying to recreate it. But then when the video idea came up, amazing director, like the whole world and the story of it, just like I said before, it just all fell into this, we went down a wormhole, because the intent of it suddenly became this, we're going down a different street here, and everything looks kind of unusual, and it pulled Tom out of a sort of funk he was in and a feeling he was in, and he got pretty excited about it all, even though it was weird because the album was going to be Southern accents, and it was all and now a
And
long
what
time.
does a sitar have to do with Southern accents, right?
Exactly. Now you see, but it was like Alice in Wonderland, you see, because I arrived like the Mad Hatter or the White Rabbit or whatever, and just I didn't even think Tom was meant to be doing this. I was just making this track. And
Right. Wasn't it originally intended for Stevie Nicks and it was Jimmy
yeah,
Iovine who
exactly.
played it for Tom?
Yeah, it was meant for Stevie, but Jimmy Iovine, who was producing Stevie, by a convoluted route, ended up that Jimmy rang Tom Petty and said, "Listen, got this song here." Now, remember, they had "Stop Dragging My Heart Around" that
Right.
Tom and Stevie did,
Right.
but it ended up being on Stevie's album and a huge hit. So Tom was more like, "Hang on a minute,
I want one. Yeah. The
this is
next
one of
one's for
my
me.
albums."
Right.
And so we went to his garage, and of course the band were completely confused. Here's a sitar, and when you meet somebody from a foreign place in a foreign country, and all their ideas are completely different, because I'd been through the whole, recording myself and the Sweet Dreams route and all that stuff. So they probably thought I was, what's Tom doing? But then when we were making the video, they really got into it too. They were having fun, and it was like,
Well,
wow,
they
this
they
stuff.
ended up making it their own. Mike Campbell's solo is iconic.
Oh God. Well, what happened at the end? I realized, well, hang on, the band should come in double time at the end and take off, and Mike with his wah wah incredible solo that came a huge part in their set live,
Right.
and Tom made a whole great sort of theatrical thing with the top hat, and so it did sort of alter the course a bit, and
Yeah, it
but
really re-energized the band. And famously, for anyone who remembers the video, the first person you see in the video is Dave Stewart sitting on
yeah,
a mushroom with a sitar.
yeah, smoking a hookah pipe, yeah.